Bonnie has responded to her sister Ruby's arrest, and she's calling out everyone. She called out Kevin Franke, she called out Jody, and she called out the people who've been passing blame onto her and her family. As you guys know, Ruby has been in jail for the past 2 weeks, along with her Connections partner Jody. They appeared in court last week and were ordered to be held without bail. Their next court hearing isn't until September 21st, so they're going to be in there for quite some time. When news of everything first broke, Ruby's extended family were very vocal on social media. Sherry made multiple statements, the family made a joint statement, and Bonnie ended up posting and deleting a video statement. Everyone assumed that the reason Bonnie most likely deleted her initial statement was probably because she was getting a ton of backlash. A lot of people were telling Bonnie that she didn't do enough. People said that if it had been them in the situation, they would have been knocking down Ruby's door, and the whole statement alone didn't really sit well with people. They talked about getting back into regular content, and a lot of people were like, that's the last thing you should be worried about right now. I do agree that the statement about getting back to regular content should have definitely been left out, but as for people telling Bonnie what she should have done or what they would have done feels really unnecessary. At the end of the day, we don't know what they did. We don't know what they were trying to do offline. We don't know the conversations they had, nothing. It's really easy to say what you would have done when you're watching something play out online. It's different when you're in that situation and have limited options legally as an aunt or uncle. Bonnie has stayed quiet since her last statement, and she's just now speaking out again in a longer, more detailed statement. She posted a video to YouTube titled, "I am not my sister, I am not my sister's crimes." Bonnie started off by saying that this statement is only coming from her. She's only speaking for herself in what she's about to say, and she made it clear that the judge had asked them not to speak on certain topics pertaining to the case. She explained her emotions surrounding everything that's come out and what she's currently feeling.
What my family and I have gone through the last couple of weeks is the worst thing that has ever happened to us. I am mad at what has happened. I am beyond disgusted, and I feel like it makes me tremble. It makes me tremble because it is unheard of. It's truly unbelievable.
During the family's last statement, one of the things they were criticized for was saying that they kept quiet for years about this. A lot of people took that as them knowing that this was happening and staying quiet and not getting help. Bonnie clarified what she meant by staying quiet. She was staying quiet about her sister Ruby, Kevin, Jody, and Connections. She said Ruby cut her and her family off, and they had no idea what was going on. What she stayed quiet on was Connections and how weird and extreme she found it. She didn't feel like she could come out and say that she didn't like her sister or something, because at that time, that's what it was.
We did not know what they were doing because, like we said, we were cut off. We did not have access to anyone.
Ruby and Kevin were deep into this self-help program, and Bonnie thought it was weird and didn't agree with it. She also said she kept quiet about Ruby and Kevin cutting her and her family off because they didn't understand why Ruby chose to do it. She said it actually wasn't until she reconnected with Sherry that they finally started learning more. Since Sherry was off on her own at school and away from her parents, she was making her own decisions. And one of those decisions was to reconnect with her aunts and uncles. And that's when the extended family started to slowly realize that this was much deeper than just being this weird self-help group. Bonnie made it clear that they did everything they could legally to try and get help, but their options were limited. Ruby had cut Bonnie off. Bonnie was only the kid's aunt. Her legal options were limited. She called out the people who've been trying to claim that they would have done more.
We did everything legally that we could do. And for those that were saying that they'd go in and bust down doors and do whatever it took to end up in jail, because from jail, I can't do anything. So I still stand by what I said, is that I did everything that I could with the knowledge that I had and within the legal rights to Ruby and Kevin.
I mean, really, for all we know, all those 911 calls reported over the years to Ruby and Kevin's house were maybe made by Bonnie and the other family members. We really don't know the extent they went through to try and get help, so I think it's pretty unfair to make judgments about what they could have or should have done. Bonnie ended up calling out Kevin Franke. She said even though her options to get help were limited, the one person's options who weren't limited were Kevin's. Bonnie said it was Kevin's job to check in on those kids and make sure everything was okay, and she says he did not do that.
The one person that could have done something within his legal right was Kevin. We had zero contact with him. It was Kevin's job to check in on things, and he did not.
And we know Bonnie is telling the truth because Kevin's own lawyer came out and said the same thing. He gave an interview to Law and Crime Network, and the interviewer was pressing him like, how did Kevin not know about this? Even if he was out of the house, he's still the dad. Was he not calling the kids? Was he not seeing the kids? That's the question we all have. It's one thing to have issues with your spouse and leave the home, but abandoning your kids is a whole nother story. Kevin's lawyer said he left the home and he wasn't seeing his kids at all. Apparently, Ruby told him if they wanted to work things out, it would be best if he left the home and had no contact with his kids. He said they were having disputes on parenting dynamics, and that's why he ended up leaving the house. The lawyer said Kevin was trying to save his marriage. He was taking direction from Ruby, and he was just doing what Ruby wanted so they could eventually get the family back together. So what I'm getting from that is Kevin threw away his whole relationship with his kids because of the sheer hope of one day getting back with Ruby and having the family back together. If someone is saying to you that everything is better without you around, you're not allowed to see your own children, move out, you would think you would be like, I don't think so. I'm seeing my children and we're going to go to court over this. This statement from the lawyer is not making Kevin look any better in this situation, and now we can see why Bonnie is so mad at Kevin.
We would talk in circles because nothing made sense. Nothing made sense of what they were saying, of what they were doing. And it was off the wall. We couldn't make sense of what they were doing and why.
It's interesting to hear Bonnie say how what Ruby and Kevin were saying didn't make any sense and everything just went in circles, because that's what every connection video felt like for anyone watching it. They had these strange set of rules around truth and deception, but nothing they ever said made sense. Every video just sounded like word vomit with a few keywords thrown in every few sentences. Bonnie also talked about the impact that this whole situation has had on her family. She said it's hurt everyone. Her husband is in the middle of renovating their house and trying their best to get up every day and do their normal life, but right now they have to take everything hour by hour. She talked about just how difficult it's been to have national media coverage of their family and also have all these people come out with different stories about the family, and said a lot of them are ridiculous and she's not even going to comment on them.
Every news outlet, every national news outlet, people coming out of the woodworks making claims that are just so beyond ridiculous that there is no comment. It is so stupid that there is no comment.
She talked about the pain that this whole situation has caused her parents. She said Ruby cut her family and Kevin's family off, and that led to her mom having a heart attack and going into kidney failure. Bonnie explained how difficult it's been to have people try and shift blame onto her and her family when the person who actually had the ability to do something about what was going on, because he's the dad, didn't do anything.
And I get people wanting to put blame somewhere. I do. They want to blame someone. There's only one person that could have helped, and he didn't. What he was doing all that time when him and Ruby were separated is beyond me.
A lot of people told Bonnie that she should take a step back from posting content and focus on processing what's happening and maybe even rethinking her own content, but she ended up announcing that she will continue to post on her channel.
I will not let Ruby and Kevin and Connections and Jody take one more thing away from me. So you better believe I will continue to post, because if that is what tiny control I have left, I'm gonna take it.
This whole entire video was a lot to take in. Everyone's been wanting more information about Kevin and how it's possible he didn't notice what's going on, and we're finally starting to understand why. People have been very concerned about the possibility of Kevin getting custody since he was once affiliated with Ruby and Jody. The only hope people had was the fact that Kevin left the home and hopefully saw through the crap. But knowing he abandoned his kids like that, regardless of if he knew what was going on or not, is so concerning. So far, the response to Bonnie's video has been really positive and supportive of her and her family. We had people writing, "Kevin failed his kids. I honestly hope he doesn't gain parental rights. Stay strong. It's beyond me that people blame you and your siblings/parents. People don't understand that it isn't like you could just walk into their home and take all the kids. I can't imagine how hard it's been for all of you to deal with this behind the scenes for the last year and now in the spotlight. I pray that justice is served and that you can all heal mentally and emotionally." Ruby's other sister Julie also uploaded her own video statement titled, "My side of the story concerning my sister Ruby Franke." This video was similar to Bonnie's video. Julie seemed shocked that all of this was happening. She seemed like she was still even trying to process what happened. Julie spoke out against connections and said everyone felt weird about Jody. They didn't like the teachings Ruby was trying to pass on to them.
Jody Hildebrandt and her website or therapy style, I don't know what you want to call it, connections, was not a great resource, and we all saw it. We all felt weird about this Jody lady. We weren't comfortable with it. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teachings Ruby was bringing to the family functions, and we were this close to telling her, if you come to our family events anymore, we do not want to hear what you were learning through connections because we don't like it. We never did say that to her, but we thought it.
And then one day, Ruby decided to leave the family, and instead of telling the sisters why she was leaving, she just cut them all off.
Anyway, so 3 years ago, Ruby and I hung out bottling tomatoes, and then a few weeks later, crap hit the fan and she left the family. And she didn't even call me to say, hey, you know, Julie, you're doing this and this, and I don't like it. You're living your life in distortion, so I'm gonna have to take some time away from you. No, literally nothing.
And that's when Ruby got rid of all her friends and family. Julie says she was constantly making up these lies about them and never contacted any of them or gave them any reason as to why she cut them off. Julie said she had no idea what was happening, and that's why they never talked about things publicly.
Getting rid of all of her friends and family, and I literally had no contact with her. She wouldn't respond to any texts or emails over the time that I tried reaching out to her.
They also knew that there was a potential for Ruby's kids to be watching their videos, so they didn't want to say anything bad about their mom on their video and risk the kids seeing it. Julie also said going forward, there will be some changes to their content. She never got into any more detail about what those changes are, but I'm hoping it's moving away from family vlogging. As for Ruby, there really hasn't been any new information coming out about her in jail. I know Jody's lawyers were apparently trying to get her out sooner than later, but so far, it sounds like she's still sitting in a jail cell. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.